Hi, I am Michelle Julian, your goddess guide. Welcome to the Rise of the Goddess Collective podcast. This was birthed due to the discontent of all of the negative background noise of competition, body shaming, jealousy, the list goes on. And we as goddesses, we have an opportunity to stand together, be bigger, bolder, and more elegant than all of that. And the best way to do this is together. This isn't just a podcast, this is a movement. So let's join and honor each other together. Rise of the Goddess. Your being goddess state is always within reach. It's a state of activating the next version of you that's always wanting to show up. It's pivoting out of the imposter syndrome, head on, eyes open, even within the darkness of this major uprising. Welcome to the Rise of the Goddess Collective. I am your host, Michelle Julian, your goddess guide.
I love it. The coordination.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am here with Martine De Luna. She is amazing, okay? When I say the word amazing, I know that word is overused. She truly is amazing. She's a wife, she's a mother, and she's a certified transformational coach. And that's another word that's so overused, but she truly is transformational in the way she helps you look at the real you so you can shine your light and share your juicy wisdom with your potential client or the clients that you're already working with. And at the heart of her work, she helps women who are leaders, founders, and creatives to stop hustling, learn and lean more into their femininity through one-on-one mentoring or through her group programs. She guides women to co-create with their heart and God and cultivate an internal peace within so they can discern more clearly and live with more intention. Her community is filled with women, life coaches, authors, consultants, teachers, fitness coaches, writers, creatives, executives, network marketers, and freelancers who would like to live in true femininity rather than force and hustle. Who is not all for that? I know I am. And I know that my audience does not want to overwork and definitely wants to get paid well and to live a life that's true to themselves so they can really be that feminine, strong goddess, because that's why I created this podcast, Rise of the Goddess Collective, so we can raise each other up and rise up together, because there's no reason that we can feel like, oh, I feel like I'm not really good enough to do XYZ, or that person is doing something similar to me. Maybe I really shouldn't do that, and start second guessing ourselves. And that's one of, I think, Martine's gifts is she helps you see that you're unique. You're a unique human being and you have a unique way of bringing forth your wisdom. So, Martine, thank you for being here tonight, this morning for you. And I'm so excited that you're here. So tell us how how are you doing today? How is things
Oh,
going on in your personal life and your business? Let's have a conversation.
yes. Well, Michelle, I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you. And mabuhay from the Philippines. I am doing fabulously, even though it is a searing hot summer over
Mhm,
here. I'm talking 90s, I'm talking desert like levels of heat, but it's all
mhm,
good. Um, you introduced me so well, I believe that we can get through even the most heated times, figuratively and literally, when we
mhm,
have like that solid foundation, when we have intention, and when we have that clarity, that we
mhm.
desire to have so we can live the lives that we love. So I am currently enjoying a summer over here, taking a step back from working like the daily schedule and really just leaning into, some of the plans that we have for the summer, like a little travel going on locally only, so that we can enjoy the outdoors, nurturing like my membership program, which um, really is one of the things I love doing, holding spaces for groups of women and leading more into this consciousness that I have been talking about lately, the polarity consciousness, creating content around that. But
Mm,
on a usual day, you'll find me cooking and being with my kids and just being a mom.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
So tell the audience how you
Mm.
started your business as a
Mhm.
blogger and then it evolved into what you're doing now, which is kind of a chapter
Mm.
in your life that you've created this amazing online presence with the blogging and
Yeah.
then went from that and got really super excited doing your own personal development and continuing education. And how is that showing up like now here in 2021?
Mhm.
We're like going to June, and so share
Yes.
with the audience how that all kind of came about so they too can kind of follow your journey and see how maybe they can relate to possibly trying to figure out their way of kind of taking their
Mm.
business wherever it
Okay.
is right now. Maybe there's a lot of bloggers out there listening to podcasts,
Yeah.
and what are they going to do next? Maybe they're tired of blogging and they're looking
Mm.
to innovate and pivot, which you're so good at. So I'd love you to share that
Awesome.
with the
Okay.
audience.
Yeah. Well, everything everything that I began really began because I had like a catalyst for it. So 12 years ago, this work from home like setup began because the catalyst was my baby. Of course, he was just a few months old, and he wouldn't take the bottle of my breast milk, no matter how much I left at home. And so I took that intuitively to mean, Mama, you got to come home and you are going to raise him like as a home based mom. So you're going to find like work that's going to support that. And I just trusted God. I'm like, okay, God, so I'm going to follow this um, leading. And like 2 months after I intuitively made that decision, I found work with a agency. So it was like a digital marketing agency based out of LA, and they were looking for somebody to be their creative director. And I had never been a creative director for a digital marketing company ever. All I had was the writing experience from having this very, very casual, like mommy blog at the time. But see, that's how miracles work, when you put the intention out there. So basically, in July of 2010, I was hired by this company and I worked with them for 3 years on a flexible schedule, doing a lot of content creation work. That was really my boot camp that equipped me for what I consult clients for right now, which is, personal branding, etc. And that was able to bring me home, like to be a work at home mom. And that became the theme of my blog as well. So it no longer exists. I took it offline, but it was called The Dainty Mom. Isn't that cute?
I
Right?
love it. I
Yeah.
love
So it's
it.
all about
Okay.
femininity. Yeah. It was about femininity, being a homemaker, and working from home. And that opened up a lot of opportunities for me, because back in the day, when you were like a mommy blogger, you
Mhm.
would monetize your blog, right? Kind of like how a lot of influencers now monetize their Instagrams and their social media. But back then
Right.
it was blogging, writing. And so about 3 years into that, my own readers of my blog were coming to me and saying, please, can you teach me what you're doing so that I can do what you're doing? Like, have a blog, set up like a personal brand, and possibly monetize it. And I took
Mhm.
that as a cue, again, another catalyst, right, in my journey to
Right.
be independent, to start
Right.
consulting on my own. So that was back in 2012, around July as well, when
Mhm.
I resigned from the digital marketing agency and I decided to do my own thing. So that was
Mm.
strategic. I've always been, with any exit that I've had, with any catalyst that I've followed, there has always been like a plan for it. So when I got the catalyst of my son being born and me feeling this urge to be a work at home mom, months ahead of that, I was already saying, okay, I'm going to put some savings in from the job. And then
Mhm.
I'm going to cut this umbilical cord when the new opportunity that I'm cultivating
Mhm.
is worth it already. So that's what I did for the first catalyst. When
Mhm.
my employer in the digital marketing agency was able to, at that time, I asked for 3x my salary in my old
Mhm.
job, and I will leave it and join you. So back then, I already had that sense of my worth, because I could ask
Mm.
for the price that I wanted. So this is like 10 years ago, right? And it was the
Mhm.
same with the catalyst of interested potential clients. So when I
Mhm.
started, when that started as a side hustle in 2012, clients that were asking me
Mhm.
to be their personal brand coach. But a year after that, when it had gained momentum, I could also cut the umbilical cord with the freelancing job, with the digital marketing firm. So that's kind of like how I've always pivoted, so to speak. There's always been preparation. There's always that
Right.
masculine foundation of, okay, you've got to have the money, you have to have
Mhm.
something that is foundational so that you can
Mhm.
follow the feminine. The feminine is about desire. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. But the feminine
Right.
requires structure so that
I
she can
love
feel safe doing that. Right. And so that's currently what I work on these days, right? Like helping women. They're like, I have this desire. Like, I want to birth this. I want to create this. And I'm like, that's
right.
great. So let's bring the consulting in to firm
Mhm.
it up with a structure, with an architecture. And that's masculine. So I just fell in love with this whole dynamic, because we are women. So we are core feminine beings, right? We want to
Mhm.
express. I want to do what I love. We hear a lot of that in our space. But to do
Mhm.
what you love
Mhm.
means to be able to be held with a structure that will let you do that, right?
Right.
Especially if
Right.
you're running a business. Yeah.
Exactly, because we have desires, right?
We
We
have desire.
all have desires, but what is our true desire, right?
Yeah.
Because there's people will be say, "Oh, I want to have coffee ice cream every night." That's like a desire, right?
That's a desire.
But
Yeah.
but you're talking about your life and your business and how
Mm,
you want ease You want ease, you want
Yes.
abundance, but you don't want that hustle anymore, because if you
Mm.
did, you'd stay in your 9 to 5,
Yeah,
right?
because hustle is evidence of those two polarities like fighting each other, right? So
Mhm, mhm,
when you have attraction, people talk about law of attraction and things like that. Attraction is when there are two poles creating
mhm.
tension between them. And that's a magnet, in science. If we remember, we had those science lessons where you put a magnet down and then you put like the metal shavings around, and then they get
Mhm.
attracted to the poles. Now, the tension between those poles, the distance between those
Mhm,
poles is what creates that attraction. And it's the same if you
mhm,
are, if you apply masculine and feminine principles to a business. What is the feminine? The feminine is the brand. Like, this is my expression. This is what I do. This is my genius. The
mhm,
masculine is how you're going to hold that, how you are
mhm,
going to contain that so that it reaches the right clients, it has the
mhm,
proper messaging, it has a
mhm.
pricing structure so that it can sustain your business, right? When
Right.
you have those polarities in place, then the attraction comes. And
Mhm,
attraction can be in the form of calling in the right clients, calling in the
mhm,
most aligned opportunities to work with you, and so on and
mhm.
so forth.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
So the thing is, in 2020,
Mm,
things were different, right? Things were different. We had to
that is the
shift and
understatement
change,
of the century.
right? We had to pivot and be super innovators. And you
Mm-hmm.
and I worked together
Mm-hmm.
and helped me create the Julian Method lifestyle brand. And
Yes.
you helped me with all my juicy offers in a way that now I can share it. So let's talk about how
Sure.
you've done that with your business since the 2020 to 2021 now. And now you are in another phase with your business and with your personal life,
Yeah.
and how that's kind of showing up for you in a way that's serving you personally for your own growth, and for also your clients to be able to shift into that next level of
Mm,
expansion for their personal lives and their
yeah.
business. Because what do we know is true? That
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs, we shift and change and evolve and expand. We don't stay the
Mm,
same. We don't get locked in and fixed in to a particular flow
mm-hmm.
as a 9 to 5er personality.
Yeah.
We step out of the box and we have a vision, because we're visionaries, because
Yes.
we're entrepreneurs. So let's talk about like where you now are with your vision and how you're going to move through this new expansion so
Awesome.
you can serve yourself and the greater good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like for 2020, what really happened for a lot of us, myself included, was the pivot.
Mhm,
Remember a year ago, we were like, we have to pivot. We have to know how to pivot. We have
mhm,
to accept like this, they were calling it the new normal, right?
mhm,
And for a lot
mhm,
of us, there was resistance. And naturally, because we had gotten so used to how things were done, everything was, like certain. There was a certain assurance with the internet, being online, having
mhm.
all of these access points to opportunities, and then suddenly having them stop, right? So you know very well, because your own business, the physical business, was so impacted by that. And so
Mhm,
if a person has that innate capacity to say, well, I am a creative being and I am made for expansion and expression, I'm actually
mhm.
not going to look at this as holding me back. But that was not the same experience for everybody, right? But so I love that you said everything is made to expand, because it is absolutely true. If we
Mhm.
contract, when the environment around us changes, then that's simply an invitation for us to say, well, where am I not inviting expansion into my life? And so a lot of my 2020 was helping women to invite expansion in. So pivot number one, around this time, I said I was hearing from a lot of women that they had to quit their jobs. Like there were a lot of teachers that were put off work, or they weren't rehired to do some of the online classes. So that was difficult. What were they going to do? There were also entrepreneurs who had small business experience, but because their physical shops had to close, what were they going to do? But these women had aspects that they could teach. They could reverse engineer whatever successes they had created and become mentors to people who were in the very same situation as they. So what I did around May was I did a set of master classes in my free Facebook group back then to teach women how to teach what they know. And the outcome of that was a program that I now offer. It's like a program creation incubator. And basically, I put everything that I had learned about creating programs and mentorship containers over the last 10 years, I put it into my own program. So my program helped people to create their programs. And by the end of 2020, around 40 women had gone through that program, and around 33 had created programs, like with frameworks, with user experiences, with a system that they could teach, whether online or offline. So when you are of that mindset of expansion, you will receive the direction from the masculine. And I consider the masculine to be aspects like the divine, God, inspiration, our imagination. And then that will support that feminine desire of yours, because the feminine desire, she desires to help, she desires to nurture, she desires to provide space for people where people can be heard. She is a very nurturing energy. But if you have a business, you want that masculine structure to hold you so that that feminine desire can be expressed. So a very wise man, and one of my mentors in coaching, Bob Proctor, says, we are made for expansion and fuller expression. The masculine and the feminine is present over there. Expansion is what the masculine is. It's the structures, it's the business plan, it's the progress forward. Then the feminine is the expression. She is the essence. She says, I want to express myself as a mentor or a teacher now. How can I expand into that? So when you are desiring to be more fully expressed, then that is when expansion becomes the container for you, the system, the structure, the architecture for you. And so, that was one pivot that was really key to making 2020, at least in my business, fruitful, but at the same time, help other women to be fruitful as well. So I specify women because most of my clients really are women. Although at the beginning of 2021, I actually called in a couple. So a man and a woman, husband and wife tandem, who are also building their personal brand. So this message of masculine, feminine has also opened up new audiences as well, who are really resonating with this consciousness of these polarities. So never be closed off to this opportunity to expand. Like if you are an entrepreneur, you want to feel stretched. You want to feel expanded. Yes, it's uncomfortable for a time, right? And that's why we need to have both of those aspects. If we are uncomfortable or feeling stretched in our business, which is when we are hyper masculine, we need to invite the feminine in, the rest, the recovery, the self-regulation, right? Kind of like how Michelle has both. She has her like intuitive consulting, but then she has her foam roller sessions.
Right.
She has her like physicality sessions. The feminine is the body, the masculine is the mind, all the mental
Right.
stimulation, the knowledge. And so I just love introducing that dynamic into
Mm-hmm.
my work because
Mm-hmm.
it refocuses everything. It helps women to see, where am I operating too much on one pole, right? Where do I need to
Exactly.
integrate?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's what helped me birth my
Mm,
being, becoming
your
goddess,
brand. Yeah.
the goddess wisdom, as rise of the goddess collective. And that leads me into your next thing I'd love for you to share, which is
Mm,
you have your own inner goddess wisdom self. You have
yeah.
sovereignty of your own being and becoming.
Mm,
And you and I have had many, many conversations about
yeah.
being, becoming, feminine and masculine. So many
Yes.
conversations. I have many recordings, auto recordings that I could probably create a podcast in itself, those juicy conversations. And my mind's always percolating like, I actually need to have two podcasts. I need
Mm,
one for the rise of the goddess collective, and then another one about literally calling it. And I was actually just having a conversation with another coach about it. Real conversations, real conversations with the real you was the podcast
yeah, that sounds
I came up
awesome.
instead of, having the podcast be about, your business or your personal life, you just have a real conversation with
Yes.
this other person on the other line,
Mm,
because what's happened with online, and you totally can relate to this, and this is why you do your breaks and you step away
yes. Yes.
from the online world, is it can become very shiny, very
Mm,
me-like, and you really aren't connecting with that energy. And so you really want that real conversation with a person
mm,
that you can help shift and
yes.
grow into being the best person they can be for
Mm-hmm.
themselves, for their family, for their children, to shift, really, to become the
Yeah.
change we're all kind of really looking for. And so, leading into this, this question, it's about how do you discern your inner wisdom goddess self so
Mm,
you're not getting over like stimulated with too much of
yeah.
anything, right? So how do you
Yes.
do that discerning with your own inner wisdom?
Okay. So I consider my inner wisdom, well, I am a progressive like Christian, right? So you know this. I believe in God, I believe in Jesus. So my inner wisdom is my connection to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, which
Mm,
is the spirit of God, right? So when people say
mhm,
intuition, depending on your
mhm,
system of belief, that is basically your connection with the divine. So that's number one. It is maintaining that connection, that inner knowing with the divine, because we are not just human, right?
mhm,
We are not just like creature. We are also divine. So that's number one, maintaining that connection. Number
mhm,
two is understanding that because I am led by this spirit, then what I create
mhm,
outside, like the physical, and if I trust myself, if I trust that I am guided and loved and supported and that I am
mhm,
led, then what I create is not bad or good. It is just what I create. And so that's why I say to people, like, do not be attached to like a specific outcome of what you create, because that's
mhm,
where you invite the hustle. That's where you invite the suffering. So when I launch something, or when I help a client launch something, there's always this caveat of you followed your intuitive guidance when you created this. So trust that, number one. Always go back to number one. Number two, if this doesn't work out quote marks around that. If this doesn't work out, remember that workout is relative to what you are feeling or what the conditions are in the environment. But it does not mean that it was a bad leading or it was a bad creation.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at, we always say the universe course corrects itself. And we can do that too, right? So if you like, let's say, and I've had people who say, oh, I tried this, I launched this and it didn't work out, or I created this and only 2 people signed up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that is a part of it. That is a part of the journey. Entrepreneurship, I mean, it's like a broken record. Entrepreneurship is not a straight line, but that doesn't mean we didn't follow our intuition or our inner guidance or the Holy Spirit each time, right? So
this is the thing. What we're talking about is real. The
it
real
is.
Experience of starting a business, even though you have all this wisdom, all this knowledge, all these trainings, you launch it. You think if you do 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, you should get all these clients immediately, right?
Yeah.
All these people should sign up. Well, I know, and because we both have joined programs that are huge, like a Tony Robbins, a Proctor. Even those people don't get thousands of people signing up for their stuff. They might have like, 15, people in their VIP, or maybe they have 50 to maybe like, more than that in the big group program that they created, but they worked their program for years before even before they created that abundance of people signing up. So when someone new, and the audience that I'm probably attracting are going to be the new people that are kind of coming into the online experience, understand just because 1 person or 2 people sign up does not mean that that particular program or launch was not a beautiful program and a beautiful idea.
Exactly.
And understand that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try it again, because that's not really how businesses, even online, work. You have to try and experiment. They say businesses take 5 to 6 years to actually even be thriving.
Stable.
Right? So it's so good to have this conversation. People know that this is like the norm, like the shiny thing people are talking about. Figures, if you do this template, you'll get $60,000 your first month, online, is not the truth. It's not the percentage of, like they say, it's like the 90% of people. No, it's like the 1 or 2% that are online that are doing that. They've been doing it for over 8 to 10 years. We know them. We've worked with them. So we know this, and I think it's important for the audience to know that.
It is so important, because you get a lot of marketing message, and excuse me if you can hear my kids in the background, but it's like work at home mode right now. It is real life. Okay. They are both awake. They're going to overtake me in a few minutes. Okay. But this is what I want, the caveat, Michelle, that we have to tell people, because you and I have been doing this for a while now. And the caveat is this: for all the newcomers in like the online business, like online coaching world, online entrepreneurship world, a lot of what you see on fancy Facebook ads and marketing campaigns of how to sell your work, know that a lot went into that. And when people say, I made my 10K months, they are not saying to you, but I spent 8,000 on marketing and on hiring people and on like a Facebook ad campaign. So do not fall for marketing messages that are appealing to the shadow, to our fear of not making it work. That is huge. Do not fall for these marketing messages. And we're going to tell you right off the bat, because we've been through the shit. We've been through it all. What people declare as my 10K month or my 5K month or whatever that is not all profit. That is also paying the 10 people that helped me to reach the 5K month, like paying my Facebook ads or paying my graphic designer to make a website that cost me $3,000. We have to demand transparency on the part of marketers. And so what I like to prepare women for when they get into the online space is there's gonna be disappointments, but here's the thing: you will not have wisdom without the disappointment. Wisdom is not an upward path. Wisdom is being able to hold to who you are when shit hits the fan.
Exactly. That's the inner strength.
That is it. Yes, exactly.
And that's also, as you talk about, the faith that your own spirituality, whether it's, a higher power,
Whatever
an angel,
it is.
or
Yeah.
God, that is where you lean into that trust that someone has your back. God has your back. The universe has your back. You hear that message. Someone is watching over you, whatever your faith is. And you need to know that you need to always lean back into that, because that's your safety. That's where you find the love and understanding and the compassion for yourself. So you can keep showing up and you can go back. It's like you're in a battle. You go back to that battle of life and business and keep showing up, even with all the scrapes and all of the pain and all of the suffering. You show up and you keep serving. You serve for yourself. You serve for maybe your God. You are serving because that's what we are. We are really servants. We're service providers.
Yes, exactly.
That's going to shift this paradigm of comparing and shaming and bullying and not being able to have your own voice just because, I believe that I want to be fully vaccinated does not mean everybody else wants to be fully vaccinated.
Individuality, right? Individuality. And that's heated right now because, what was I reading? I was reading something from a functional doctor the other day. And what's really going to keep us healthy is our mind. A lot of what is going on, and I'm going to speak to the climate that we're in right now, like the social climate, like socially, where everything is. Countries are falling apart with what's happening and on all of the things, right? And it's falling apart because we're seeing just how human beings, if we don't go back to what makes us, like unifies each one of us, we will tear each other down with all of the differences in our opinions, right? So we have to remember that before we became brilliant and before we, discovered the science or discovered the next invention, or before we discovered all of the things and created all of the things, we were first human, right? So to always remember that. So for all of the brilliant things that we have created as humanity, remember that at the heart of it all, everybody is the same. So no matter the varying decisions that we make, the differences in opinion that we have, at the heart of it, we are all still human. We are all still human.
No matter how we want to be referred to, whether we're she or her. I was going through this today. I had a call and I was at a doctor's appointment and I was having an intake form, and she asked me all these questions. Are you a female? How do you refer yourself to? Are you heterosexual? Are you straight? I mean, all these questions. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm a human being. That's what I am. That's how I want to be refer to. I don't even want to tell you if I'm a she or a he or a lesbian or a heterosexual. I am a human being. Please just take my name and number and put down human being. How about that? Let's just skip over all that other bullshit. Okay?
Because it's so tragic, like the division. And and sometimes, I tell my clients, like a lot of them are like, there's just so much going on. And like, I read this and I read that. You know what, girl? Just shut it off. Like, take it off your phone. Do not subscribe to any narrative that's going to screw up your nervous system and make you sick here. Because Dr. Bruce Lipton, if you follow him, he's an amazing biologist. He said, what you think is how your body is going to react. So I tell women, part of your feminine, femininity is shutting the tech off, shutting the news off, shutting it all out. Go to nature, take a walk, get some sun, sleep more, play some music. Yeah, like
absolutely. I love that. That's what I want to talk about. Like, what are the tools that you use? Like, people call them online. What are your favorite hacks and what are your apps? Like, let's just be real, okay?
Yes,
like, what kind of things do you use to help you sustain that femininity? And masculinity. You need both in order to function.
I'm gonna. Yes.
Okay? So talk about that so people know, like, the real deal of Martine, like, because Martine, you're a beautiful person and you have beautiful branding and everything online, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever the hell you are. Okay, it looks beautiful. How are you sustaining that beauty?
Okay, right. So number one is the feminine rests in masculine. That is just the beauty of it. I love the aesthetics of like the Gone with the Wind thing where the man is carrying the woman. I've never seen that as me being the weaker sex. That is me being able to be fully expressed because there are masculine structures. So number one, if you have a desire to have more rest and recuperation in your schedule as a busy entrepreneur, have the structure for it first. Okay. So classic example is the 3-day, like I like to say, I like to work 3-day work weeks, right? And that is not unique to me. That is done in the entrepreneurial world by many women. But how is that possible? Okay, so number one, I track my period. So I still bleed, I track my period. And because I'm pretty regular, I know when she's going to come. So when she comes, I'm like, okay, when she is here, I know that for 2 days, I'm not going to be productive. Like, I'm just going to want to lie down, drink smoothies, and have fresh food and sleep more. So when I have my period, ladies, I do not go on Zoom calls. I do not have clients. If I do, I message them and they all happen to be women. And they're like, yeah, girl, like, I know how that feels like. So number one, know your body and schedule your productivity around your body. I cannot speak for perimenopausal and menopausal women, but maybe Michelle can help you with that. Okay. So that's number one. If you're a woman and you are cycling and your high days and your low days, work around that. So I don't work on my bleeding days, no Zooms, nothing. It is all rest. It is all feminine, going into my womb, meditating a bit more, sleeping a bit more, nourishing with more probiotics and fatty and iron-rich foods and all of that. When I'm in my follicular phase, which is the phase after that, then that's when I'm starting to have more energy. I start working out a little bit more. I don't work out when I'm bleeding, like, hello, why, right? Okay. But when it's in my follicular phase, I'm like, okay, yes, the energy is coming back. I start to nourish with some root crops, with legumes, with hummus and things that are going to bring me energy and vitality, more probiotics, right? And then I start to do things like Pilates, a little bit of light resistance with light dumbbells, things like that. And then I start to go back to having meetings, client calls. And because my face looks better, I'm not breaking out, I feel better. when I'm in my ovulatory stage, that is when you'll see me doing live streams. I'm it's a bit TMI for people, but if you see me on IGTV, it's because I feel great. I feel confident. It's like my body is a channel of like downloads and words from God, from Holy Spirit. And that is when I'm in my ovulation phase. And when you're in your ovulation phase, ladies, that is when your testosterone is up. So you have
Yeah.
vitality. You can do another strength training, like routine that week. You can make love, to your husband if you feel that vitality, right? And you can also do things that require more high energy. And then when you go into your luteal, that's when you're down regulating again. You're like, okay, we call this the PMS stage. That's when you want to nourish with more grounding foods again. So you want to go back to the root crops. You want to go back to nourishing yourself with kombucha and things that are going to really prepare your body for the shedding that's about to happen. This is a great time to look at your to-do list for the month and say, where are the gaps? What are the things that are no longer serving me that I can let go of, that I can detox from? And then the cycle repeats itself again. So for me, that is a structure. Our
It's like
cycle is a built-in structure. And if we just follow it,
because you have the
correct.
full moon, you have the new moon, you have the first quarter.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have the waning and then the wax gibbous
And
moon. So it's
yeah,
like
and
the
for
same
some
thing.
and for some women, they match with what the moon is, what the current activity is, right? And it's the same with your structures. Like you said, how do I maintain the branding, the consistency? Well, every year or 2 years, I revamp my branding and I create an entire suite on Canva that is ready to be updated. And because I believe in structure, I also have a virtual assistant who does the implementation of the physical things like doing the new graphic design, replacing things on my Facebook profile and on my LinkedIn and etc. That is because I know my desire is to have a certain state of being. And to have that, I can't be doing all the things, right? I can't be in front of my computer 24/7, right? So I hire part of the work out. That is also masculine. Knowing how to delegate, knowing how to assign your energy, right? So these are just some ways, ladies, that you can invite masculine structures in, right? It can be hiring an assistant, it can be outsourcing your work, it can be creating a schedule around your most productive cycles according to your feminine body. These are all beautiful examples of the feminine and the masculine integrating. And that is when creation happens. Yeah.
Wow. This was so juicy, and I'm so excited that we had this real conversation about that integration of the feminine and the masculine, and how you actually really kind of play that out in your personal life and in your business. And I would love for people to know that are listening how they can actually get in touch with you. What's the best way to get in touch with you? I'm going to put in the show notes like your Facebook link and your website link and all of that. Any juicy resources and freebies you want to share, like now, the audience, we can talk about that.
Awesome. So I do have like a very active Instagram. So I really prefer now that women follow my Instagram community. So that's at Martine De Luna. I share a lot of juicy IG lives and IGTVs where I have tips and also a look at, how my day is going. I've just been finding Instagram to provide me with that connection with people. I do have a paid membership program. So you hear me talking a lot about masculine and feminine balance and integration. My membership program, Radiant, is all about that. So it's a coach as you go collective. We meet twice a month on Zoom, and then replays are available inside the Facebook community for that group as well as a ton of bonuses on personal branding, mindset, strategy, small business, productivity, and working with your feminine body. So I also
Mhm.
have some guest coaches that are also members of the collective.
Mhm.
These are members of my personal mastermind. So they also come in to do like alternate guest coaching in that.
Mhm.
So that's my membership program that's open all year round. And
So
then
when they go to the Instagram, is it Martine De Luna?
it
Is
is
that what
Martine
they
De Luna.
search?
Yeah.
Okay, search in IG for
Yeah.
Martine De Luna. So it's
Yes, that's right.
DEULNA,
Yes.
Martine De Luna
Martine
together, and they can find
together.
it. It's actually, it says Mrs. De Luna.
Oh yeah,
on-
yeah.
on-
That is my bio name.
Okay, great, great, because it
Yeah.
says mom, home entrepreneur, believer, and then
Helping women since 2012. Yeah,
you
to
have your
thrive in
website, which
femininity.
is martinedeluna.com.
martinedeluna.com.
Right.
Yes, yes.
So they can see all your juicy offers, because you do have your about page, the work with me. And if people
Mhm.
would love for you to be on their podcast, they can find you there, because you
Yes.
do speaking events, and you still actually are doing a blog, which is nice too.
Yeah.
Just to
I'm
keep that.
reviving the blog right now because, like I mentioned to you before, I'm in a quieter space. Like I'm not as active as I used to be, like on Facebook. So
Right.
I prefer to write more. So you'll be
Mhm.
seeing some more blog posts come out of my blog that is about what I talk about, like the masculine, feminine, about being more integrated and things like that.
Well, I have one last question for you. What would
Awesome.
you like your legacy to become?
Oh, I would like so I consider my legacy how my children would look at me. And actually, a couple months ago, I wrote my obituary as an exercise with my coach. And he
Oh,
was really great. He was like, so this was like an 8-week program
mhm.
on clarity for your life. So what I did was I wrote my obituary down. And in that obituary, it gives you kind of like a plan to work backwards from the end of your life to where you are now. And I
Wow.
actually collected quotes from my audience, right? So one of the assignments there, you know how in obituaries they say this person said this about her and this person
Yeah,
said that about him, right?
yeah.
So I actually interviewed some clients, and I
Mhm.
loved one of the things that this client said. So, quote, Martine had the gift of saying exactly what needed to be said the moment somebody needed to hear it. Though she could always give advice, she never did without asking one of her famously powerful questions. Her questions always help other people to find their answers. So if you're going to ask me about my legacy, I don't want people to remember Martine for being, whatever celebrity status or whatever, but I want them to remember me as somebody who asked questions, really good ones, so that they could know who they are. So that's my
I
legacy.
love it. I love it. Well, you do that. That's what I love about you. I love working with you, and I'm so glad we had this interview and the
Me
rise of the
too. I love
Goddess
you so
Collective.
much.
Super juicy, and everyone's gonna want to listen to this. And I'm so happy that you had the time, even though the kids were here too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you fit it in because
We're used to it. Remember, we
yeah,
used to meet at this time, and
yeah,
it's like
exactly. This
all
is
the
our
kids are like
favorite time. 8
fluttering
o'clock,
around me.
9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock for me at night. My husband's not even here. He's actually in Vermont. So it's been great having this conversation with you. And I know the
I
audience
loved it.
is going to love it. So thank you. And thank you so, so much. Can't wait to see more of your juicy creations of the whole unlearning and learning for you to be you and help others do the same. So thank you so much and
Thank you, Michelle.
have a great night. And is there any one last word you want to leave with before we say good night?
Oh gosh, I've said so much, but I'm going to say what I always say, like, always meet the real you. Always, always find a way to meet the real you, guys.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Have a great
Thanks,
night. Or have
Michelle.
a great morning.
Bye.
Bye for now. Thank you for being here inside the Goddess Collective. I wanted to let you know that when you come to the collective, you are receiving free resources that help you with your self-awareness. I created free trainings for you. It's the Julian Method Goddess Activation Group. It's free and it's a face group collective to help you get started with a new way of living. Follow along and witness the power of intentionally living with me and step in to the new realm of self-care for the activated goddess. They're bare bones, basic 101 goddess tips and tools. You'll get a 3-day consecutive boot camp. It's a taster of the Julian Method. I help you get started on your goddess practice. You'll find it at the juliangoddesscoaching.com. And also, a real special treat, you can receive the Being and Becoming Goddess Oracle deck. Yes, I birthed this during the pandemic. Super juicy. You'll receive a published deck with a digital deck and also your own goddess activated meditation audio. Juicy, juicy goddess things are in store for you. I am so excited for you and this journey. Have a glorious day, and remember, your activation is my activation. Have a great day.